Saxon Algebra 1, Lesson 7. Greetings, my students. Today I have a simple idea to put before you, and then I have some problems that are getting a little hairy, but we'll be fine. Imagine a number line. Imagine that 0 is in the middle. Imagine that we can pick this up and fold it so that there's a crease right here, and we would see that there are pairs of numbers that would line up, right? If we could fold it in half, kind of like I'm folding my hand in half, and 0 was right here, these would line up, and these would line up, and these would line up, and pretend my thumb's longer. There would be pairs of numbers that lined up, right? And I'm trying to draw mine carefully. And quite deliciously and quite obviously, the numbers that line up are going to have the same value. One will be positive and one will be negative, right? Because those will line up, those will line up, those will line up. These pairs of numbers we call opposites because they have the same value but the other sign, right? So we can say that 2 is the opposite of -2. And we can say -2 is the opposite of 2. I'm using check marks to say same word. I don't want to write it all over again. All right? So we can say opposites, and it doesn't matter which comes first, the positive or the negative. They're just pairs of numbers that meet each other when you fold the number line in half. Now, the way that we show this in notation is to write it like this. We put a minus sign in front of it, right? So if we want to say what's the opposite of 2, the opposite of -2 is +2. The opposite of the opposite of the opposite of 2 is -2. Just a second. The opposite of 2. Okay, so if we make a chain showing more and more minus signs each time, we see a pattern. It goes back and forth between, if you have 1 minus sign, it's negative. If you have 2 minus signs, it's positive. If you have 3, it's negative. If you have 4, it's positive. And we see a pattern there. Every 2 pairs of negative signs can go together to create a positive because they cancel each other out because they're the opposite of the opposite. So when we're simplifying numbers, we can count the minus signs in front of them, and every 2 minus signs come together to make a positive. If we have an odd number of minus signs, that means there's going to be 1 left over, and that's when our answer turns up negative. But if we have an even number of minus signs, they'll all pair off, and that's when they turn out to be positives. So, even number of minus signs equals positive. I'm going to stop talking. You know what I mean. So when we simplify, we remember these rules and can clean up some of these messy problems John makes for us. I'm going to copy one down. Okay, so what we want to do in this problem is we want to simplify this. John's written it with these bubbles to collect each number and sign in their own little bubble. I'm going to move past that. If you like those bubbles, you can do that, but I'm going to move past that and just do number sign, number sign, number sign. It's important to notice we're not doing any multiplication in this. This is all addition and subtraction, or addition of negative numbers, if you will. Later, we're going to mix multiplication in, and you have to be more careful with that, but this is all just adding. So I'm going to go through and simplify. Here, I see a 4, And in front of it, I see one minus sign. We can ignore the positive signs. We don't need to include them in our count, but I see one, so I know that's gonna stay -4. This 5 has 2 minus signs in front of it. Those are gonna go together to make a positive. That's already a positive. 3 has 2 negatives, so that becomes a positive. 6 has 1, so that stays negative. Does that make sense? You'll get the hang of it. And again, if you want to, you can turn those into bubbles. Here, I'm gonna do this. This might help you see what I did. I considered each number and the signs in front of it. And then I simplified down here. Remember that if there was multiplication mixed in here, we would have to be a little more careful, but I told you ahead of time, there's no multiplication, don't worry about that. All right, so we look at a number and then the signs in front of it. Now we've got it cleaned up and we can simply combine the positives, which are 13, and the negatives, and we get a final answer of 3. Okay. That one wasn't too horrible, right? Well, we've got 3 more, and guess what? It's gonna get uglier. Just copying them is a headache, but I do recommend that you do this in the beginning. Just be careful. All right, we're gonna do it just like we did last time. We're gonna look at, I can tell you right now there's no multiplication in there, but we're gonna find each number and look at all the signs in front of it. Every 2 minus signs equal a plus sign. 2 of them. 1, 2, 3 of them. 1, 2 of them. Right? It's that simple. If you are cool with using other colors, I do think it makes it easier to see what you're doing. And our final answer, okay, then I'll combine the positive numbers. +6 minus 2 equals 4. That's correct. This one was correct also. Okay, let's try another one. There are 2 more problems in this lesson. Example 7.3. Copy, please. I have not reminded you, but I am hoping that you're copying. Well, make sure you're copying everything I write down. Pause me as you need to. I keep forgetting to go slow, so sorry about that. I'll try better. I'll try harder, students. Okay, I'm double checking to make sure I copied it right. And I'm underlining each number and the signs that precede it, right? So I look for the number and then I go backwards. There's 3 chunks to this one. Every 2 minus signs make a positive. And I go ahead and write the positive 4. There's just 1 there, so that stays negative. And then 1, 2, 3, 2 of them go positive. You can make little notes like that to yourself if you like. We have 1 left over though, so that's -6. Okay, then we combine, and we have +4 minus 8, so our final answer is -4. And that's right. And then we have 1 more. Ready? Okay, don't let the plus signs throw you. They don't affect this opposite calculation thing that we have going on. We can identify them, but we don't have to include them. We just count the negative signs. We have 5 elements this time, 5 terms. I'm going to simplify. Let's see, there's just 1, so that's -4. Here there are 2. So that becomes positive 5. This one is basic. I know you're copying that down, but take a second and make sure it makes sense to you. And we'll add up all the positives. They're all here together. It is plus 13 and then minus 10. So our final answer is 3. And I didn't say this overtly, but once we get this simplified line, then I combine all the positives and I combine all the negatives. It doesn't matter which order you do that in. Either way is fine. I usually do the positives first, but it doesn't need to be. It's not wrong to do it in either order, but that's our final answer. Okay, so minus signs help us see the opposites of numbers, and we can have the opposites of opposites, but it's a simple matter to remember that every 2 minuses equal a plus. That's all I have to say. Short and sweet. Lesson 7 is history. Thank you, my students. I will see you next time. Goodbye.